Christmas
y'all ready?
Yeah.
I call this meeting of the Mount Vernon Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. I need a motion at this time to certify the agenda. Motion made by Robert, seconded by Linda. All four. 7-0. At this time, Robert's going to lead us in prayer.
Bow your heads, please. Lord, we come to you today to thank you for your mercy and your grace and the many blessings that you give us daily. We also want to thank you for the successes we've had in our extracurricular activities this year, and that's from football and volleyball, band, cross country, and cheerleading, and we give you all the glory. Lord, as we enter the playoffs, we hope that everyone travels to the games and are home and away, and keep them safe as they travel. And Lord, as we enter this holiday season of Thanksgiving, let us be thankful for what you have provided for us, and that you keep us healthy, and that we keep our eyes upon you. And Lord, please be with those that need your hand upon them, that they may feel your presence. And now enter our hearts and our minds as we make some hard decisions on the business before us today, and that those decisions will have a positive impact on this school district. Forgive us where we fall short of your glory, and let us be a light unto others. These things are asked in your Son's holy name. Amen.
Amen. Stir up pledges. Your flags in the back. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas,
one state under God, one and indivisible.
All right, Dr. McCullough, do we have some special recognitions?
Yes, we do. All right. We're going to back up just a minute. We want to recognize the Auxiliary Staff Member of the Month for the month of, we're in November now, so October. Make sure which month it was for. So I'm asking Miss Mary Ann Gordon here to come up. So this is what the Food Service Director, Ms. Kay Wood, had to say. It says, Mary Ann is worthy to be the Auxiliary Person of the Month because of her willingness to help at any time that is needed. Never once has Mary Ann told me she didn't have time to help or couldn't help. For example, I depend on Mary Ann to help me count the daily deposit from all the schools. She never complains, she just helps. When I need to borrow one of her employees to help another school, she always says yes. If I ask her to come and help me make copies, she always steps in. If I need a nutritional or a number off a box, she's always willing to take a picture and send it to me. If another school needs a product, she has some extra, she's always willing first to offer to take it over. Instead of anyone having to ask for help, she's willing to volunteer. It says kids love her. I see them giving her hugs all the time. She's very conscientious and never late. She's one of the most valuable employees we have here at the school. She makes my life easier every single day. As a director, I'm grateful for her. And I would also like to say that at the Dad's Night Out, that she jumped in and provided a great help, made sure that the food was there, ready, taken care of, helping serve, and volunteered to do that, and was a great asset that night. And we definitely want to say thank you. Do you want to say anything about Dad's Night Out as well?
I was going to say the same thing. Thank you. You took a load off of a lot of us, came up there and just made it work great. So we really appreciate it.
So, congratulations. Thank you. Yes, let's get a picture.
No, like I told Aaron, I volunteer for stuff like that because of the kids. It's all, that's what it is. It's all for the kids.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Grant. All right, next we are going to do the Elementary Teacher of the Month for November. Miss Carmen Contreras, please come forward. Says Ms. Contreras is November Teacher of the Month for Mount Vernon Elementary School. She has high expectations for her students, and each student consistently rises to his or her full potential. She is a collaborative teammate who always shares creative ideas during team planning. Ms. Contreras always has a smile on her face and is willing to help in any capacity. She serves on many campus committees and is committed to school improvement. Ms. Contreras works hard to teach both English and Spanish and make her students and families feel valued. We are blessed to have her as part of our Mount Vernon Elementary School family. So, Elementary Teacher of the Month, Ms. Carmen Contreras. Very good. Want to say anything?
Just thank you.
Thank you for what you do.
I appreciate my coworkers and I appreciate the school.
Absolutely. Thank you. I can say you'd love to go into her classroom and see what she does. She is really good with her students. All right. Now we're going to move to the Middle School Teacher of the Month, Miss Michelle Dameron. It says Miss Dameron has a love for kids and their well-being. She cares deeply and works hard to help them. She always works well with everyone around her. She is constantly challenging herself to learn new things and better herself in whatever she is teaching. She has stepped in this year in a new grade level and content area this year and has done just that. She is working through challenges this year with the changes to her subject area and grade level with a positive attitude. She works tirelessly to learn her standards and to implement them with deep rigor. The middle school is blessed to have her. So the November Teacher of the Month, Miss Michelle Dameron. Very good. You want to say anything?
It's a great day to be a teacher.
I like it. Very good. Thank you. Next, we'll go ahead and do the High School Teacher of the Month. The one and only Mr. Luis Cervantes. Please come down. Since they've been doing this, kind of like he's just a regular here anyway, right? Mr. Cervantes has been a vital part of the team at Mount Vernon High School over the last few years. In the classroom, he is a model of consistency and displays great planning and organizational skills in all that he does. You never have to worry if something will be done right if he is involved. He can always be counted on to handle all duties, no matter how small, in a timely and efficient manner. Mr. Cervantes teaches Spanish too and takes great pride in incorporating instructional strategies that engage and enrich his students. He is careful to implement with fidelity all of the campus initiatives into his planning and execution of those plans. In addition to this, Mr. Cervantes is a critical part of the CTE program at Mount Vernon High School. He teaches a course in digital arts and animation as well as leading the highly successful Mount Vernon High School audio-video program. In these courses, he has developed a team of students who are producing digital content on a daily basis for our school and community. He does everything with a student-centered focus and is constantly looking for new and innovative ways to enrich student learning and give them skills that will benefit them moving forward in life. Students respond to his leadership style because he leads by example and they know he is truly here to help them be successful. Mount Vernon is lucky to have him as part of the team and we are honored to present him as Teacher of the Month. You want to say anything?
Of course.
Of course.
Any chance I get to be in front of the mic. I just want to say Mount Vernon, years back, has always been a blessing to me. When the opportunity came up, and I wish I could share the story with y'all on how it came to be, I just had to take the opportunity up to teach here because it had already been a blessing in the community. And I thought, well, how much better to work at the school district and influence the next generation coming up. So I have no complaints about this district, and I appreciate everyone here and the board about it because it's been just an extraordinary experience teaching here and knowing that I have the full support from the principal, the administration, the board themselves. And I really appreciate that no one really kind of like they know that they can trust me with the work that I do in there. And whenever they come in, just like the kind letter said, that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing because I'm trusted. I came up with a quote a while back and saying the hardest thing to gain is trust, and the easiest to lose is also trust. So I appreciate you all.
Absolutely. Hang on, don't leave yourself. All right, so now you're saying here, take this opportunity. You're on camera. There will be people who will watch this for the next couple of days to see what happened at the board meeting. But help those who are going to watch and these folks here know about the opportunity to advertise on the Mount Vernon High School football games that y'all will be showing each playoff game.
Do you want me to talk to the camera?
You talk to the camera, anybody, yeah. Just let us know how to do it.
What I want to share with y'all is over the years, one thing that has been in my heart was to be able to raise money and funds for our class. The equipment that we use is not cheap at all. And I've always told Ms. Summers, like, look, the things that I'm suggesting, they're not cheap, but they're what we need if we're going to prepare these students for a professional life. And when I approached her earlier this year, I said, this is how much we need. This is the base level that we need. And it was up in the about $10,000 range. And I said, but we can raise funds for it, and we're ready to do that. We have been perfecting over the last 3 years our stream in order to be able to do this. And right now, we're able to do it finally professionally in a way that actually brings value to the customer. So we're reaching out to businesses, local businesses in the vicinity or the surrounding areas, and we're charging to actually run ads on our stream, the professional ads that we put together, and Cameron actually does a voiceover. And there's 3 packages that we have. You can learn more on our class website at www.mvab.tv, not .com. And then you can learn there, and you just simply have to cut the check or put the money out, and we'll run your ads per game as we go into the playoffs.
Right, so tell them where to see it one more time.
So it's www.mvab.tv. No, I'm kidding. But .tv. And the thing about this is that on our website alone, we get over 3,000 unique visits a month is what we've been running so far. On our live streams, we run over 1,500 views before we actually shut it down, because the coaches have asked us to shut it down. And then, when you're thinking about that, we're actually putting value on the links that we put on our website and linking out to the tier 1 business owners. There's so much what we like to call in the business link juice that goes into that. So there's a great value for the person watching this right now, and for any business owners here. There's a big value, and we have even done it where there's limited spots. So supply and demand is there, so the demand for it and the supply, we've narrowed it down so we could, just not have, whenever you listen to the radio, there's 30 minutes of ad in one song. It's not going to be like that with this. Okay.
So what's the timeline? And we play Thursday, so what's the latest somebody could get to you that they could be on there Thursday night?
Friday night, I was actually working on an ad, and we're trying to cut a deal with someone to actually do it. So push comes to shove, we can make it happen. If you're at the game, say, I'm going to run an ad, let me contact Cifuentes. We could do it that. But the earlier the better, and it's one ad you pay for the space for that week. And it's perfect to try it out for the playoffs. So we've already sold quite a bit, and there's still available spots for us.
Excellent.
For the business.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. All right. Added bonus right there. So, all right. So now, auxiliary staff member of the month for the month of November, Miss Heather Bells. I hope you're working on your speech there.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
All right. So this says, to say that Miss Bells is an integral part of the daily happenings at Mount Vernon High School would be a massive understatement. She serves as the high school registrar, where she handles the enormous job of managing student attendance for our campus. She also takes care of student enrollment, answers the always ringing phone, monitors the front entry, and manages the digital sign. In addition to all these duties and others, Ms. Bells handles the countless number of students' needs throughout the day as they come by the office for all kinds of reasons. Ms. Bells is detail-oriented and does a great job of communication with parents and administration to keep everyone informed of any pertinent information regarding our students. No matter how many hats she has to wear or how many tasks she is trying to juggle, she can always be counted on to fulfill all her duties and responsibilities in a timely and efficient manner. Ms. Bells can also be counted on to help with extra duties that are outside the scope of her job description. She helps work extracurricular events, chaperones prom, spends extra time helping prepare for graduation ceremonies, and anything else that is ever asked of her. She does all of this because she genuinely cares about the students from Mount Vernon. We can't say enough how much we appreciate all that she does for our school, and she is more than worthy to be recognized as Employee of the Month from Mount Vernon High School.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Heather Bells, Auxiliary Staff Member of the Month for November.
Thank you.
Speech?
Sure.
I don't really have a speech, but thank you. I really do care about all the kids in Mount Vernon. We really just have great kids in Mount Vernon. That's just what I tell people all the time. We have great kids, and I love good football. So that's fine.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Let's do a big picture.
Oh, sorry. Yes, y'all come all
Heather,
back up. Thank you.
Louis.
Y'all all
Let's
come
do
back
it.
up one more time.
Please. Please.
1, 2, 3. All right, got it.
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you.
Congratulations. Thank you for being a part of our district.
And And we're gonna get into our business part. Y'all, we'd love to have you stay, but a lot of them cut out. Lewis, yep, he's here for the duration. MBAV.TV. Good, good. I don't think we have anyone signed up for open forum. Didn't see it, so we'll move on to our consent agenda. Any questions on the consent agenda for tonight? Okay. So I need a motion that we approve the consent agenda. Leanne. Seconded by Scott. All four. That's 7-0.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. So number 5, discussion. Construction delivery method presentation by Lisa Gallagher.
Yes. Yes, sir. What can we do for you? What do you need?
I'm just gonna project around, she just needs to grab her clicker.
Okay. Who wants?
Is this going to be up here, Ms. Gallagher?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're going to slide out where I am so I can look back.
Yeah, just turn it
You're
on.
trying to accept it. Tell me I need to turn it on. I'm like, okay, well, where's the button?
There it is.
So I'm Lisa Gallagher with Gallagher Construction. I'll let you know I'm not usually the presenter. You usually have some handsome man and everything, so they sent the B team. But I'm the one that's boots on the ground and does this every day, so I can speak to you from actuality, and I'm not the pretty presenter and everything. But I'm a taxpayer in your district, so that's a good thing. I'm here. I actually worked on the the intermediate, let's go back, the elementary school, and your science labs and the basketball
Gymnasium.
gymnasium. So, and actually, I'm a Gallagher. So as you can see, we've been in business since '68. So almost as old as I am. I won't tell you how old I am, but I'm real close to being, the company's being old as I am. So, let's see here. And we're not big and fancy. I was gonna print out this big long packet, but I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna bore these people on it. So it's more of a discussion so you guys can ask me questions, the difference between CMA and CMR. We've done all the methodologies of construction manager at risk and CMA, construction manager agent, and program manager and jock and all of that. But in our belief, CM agent is the best value for you. It's more transparent. It's just the best bang for your buck. You get to see everything on the piece of paper in front of it's an open book. We did your 2009 bond program, which was the elementary school, construction manager at risk. We did your 2014, the other project that we did, CM agent. So we've done both here in your district. So that's, I just went through all this for you here. You cannot see this, but you can see all these little school districts. And as you guys on the board, I've been on a public school board before, so you've all been through the SOI and all that training. There's 1,152 school districts, and you know all that fun stuff. Well, every one of those little dots is a school district that we actually have built schools in, or remodeled schools, or done additions on. And those are all CM agent schools. Those are not CMR schools. So you can see that we are experienced in it. These are current districts that we're working in that are in your neck of the woods, if you will. So, and we put out, since I know you're working with WRA, the WRA schools. Caddo and Forney are not, but Forney was a WRA school for 30 years, and they switched to Huckabee in the last 3 years. So we've worked with WRA very extensively and are working with them currently on several projects, as you can see here. And that's not all that we're working with them on. So the delivery methods, which I just went over this here too. Construction manager at risk. So the difference, or the pros and cons, let's go through it. And I'm not going to give you, I know y'all had a discussion with your attorney on CMR versus CMA. The advantages of CMR is you can do a faster delivery schedule. You can do, it has an integrated team of the owner, the architect, and the construction manager. And the construction manager at risk basically is a general contractor with a fancy name. Construction manager at risk is exactly what that is. They do give you some design phase, builder assistance, and expertise up front. And really that's where you save your money, is when you have them up front in the design phase, is because if you're making changes between terrazzo and ceramic, you're going to save your money up front. If you do it on the backside, you're not going to get dollar for dollar changes in your change orders if you have that. You're just not. You get your early construction costs. That's when you get your GMP, or your guaranteed maximum price, and you have your change flexibility, which is what I just talked about. And you have a single point of responsibility for construction, which is your general contractor / CMR. The disadvantages. Your scope's not clearly defined when you do in the design process, because if you don't bring your CMR on at the beginning, which you can or you don't have to, it depends on when you do your RFQ process for your CMR. Some architects will encourage you to do it very soon, some will not. And they're percentage based. So every time that you do a change order, or every time that you do you want to add something, their fee will be added to that. You have hidden costs, and I'll show you that here in just a second. On your GMP, your subcontractors, they don't necessarily take low bid. You don't know exactly who they're taking. When they bring your GMP, it'll just say electrical, mechanical, carpet, tile, and whatever. And the contractor controls the contingency, not you guys. And so I brought this here. I'm going to hand these out to you so we can kind of talk about it. I feel like I'm in school, so don't. But this makes it a little better.
When did Stillsby do this project, do you know?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me that question. Yeah, it's got the date on here, 2014.
Okay.
I did that on purpose because I knew you were going to ask me. So if you'll look, and you can read all the way down on here, but so this is an actual GMP that we actually turned in. And when you look down the cost of work, which is your construction cost, you see that you have all these lines: site work, demolition, off-site utilities, concrete, paving, pavement markings, and all that. And you get back over on page 3, and it says GMP estimate, $25,845,400. What you don't see on here, you don't see any contractor names. You don't see that the mill work was being done by Chrisman, or the roofing was being done by XYZ roof contractor, or whatever. And you see a partial GMP estimate of $25,845,400. You also don't see on here architect's fees, miscellaneous estimates for power and all of that. So this is just a partial construction cost that the contractor has put together from the plans that they have at the time, and you're not getting, as my father would say, he's an old timer, guts, feathers, and all. You're not getting all that dollar amount. What you also don't have is when you have the contingency on here, which I spoke about earlier, the contractor is controlling the contingency on this methodology. This is the GMP, this is a CMR. So if he wants to control, or if he wants to do a change, he's going to take it from that contingency cost. When this project is finished, if you wrote it into the contract to split the savings or to keep the savings, it depends on how you write it. He either gets to keep 100% of what's left at the end of the project, or he returns the savings back to you. It depends. That's strictly y'all's negotiation at the contract time. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. And I'm going to go through all of the methodologies, and we can talk about the two differences once we get through them. I know it's hard to see up on the screen, that's why I printed it out. So CM agent is a professional service. Let me go back one step on CMR. So you can award them in two different ways. You can do a one-step RFQ, or you can do a two-step RFQ. If you do a one-step RFQ, you put out your RFQ, you ask for pricing, qualifications, and all that together. If you do a two-step, you put out for qualifications, then you select 4 or 5 of them, and then ask for their pricing. In their pricing, what you're going to get is a CM fee and general conditions. And their general conditions are going to be their superintendents, their toilets, and whatever. You won't get pricing for your project until you get your plans. Does that make sense to everybody? So you can do that all in one step, or you can do it in a two-step. But that's the only pricing that you're going to get is their CM fee and their general conditions. Okay.
You're talking about, when you say that, you're talking about before the bond takes place?
You can do it before the bond takes place, but typically it's after you've had your bond. Because on a CMR, they're not going to help you with bond planning or anything like that. Just your architect. And if you had a CM agent, but typically your architect's going to help in the bond planning. A CMR typically doesn't usually help with bond planning. You would do an RFQ after you've done your bond planning.
So
Or CMR.
if you go construction manager at risk, can you hire your construction company before the bond, or is there a certain time when you can do that? Do you have to get up to a certain place?
CM agent, the only thing you have to do is you have to hire your architect first and then the CM agent. CMR, you can hire, you've already hired your architect, so you can hire CMR anytime. You can hire before the bond or after the bond.
Okay.
CM agent, the only thing in the law says you have to hire the architect first, then you have to hire a CM agent. You can hire one at 701 and one at 702, but you can't hire the CM agent and then the architect.
Okay.
That's our lovely legislator.
So if we
in
decide
there.
to go at risk, we can start looking now at our next meeting if we wanted to, or we could wait till after the bond.
But the
Right?
one thing that you're gonna need to know is the projects that you're gonna do, so that they can give you your CM fee and what their general conditions would be, because they won't know the scope to price it on. That's the only thing that you would have to. You don't wanna just go hire somebody and say, okay, we may have this or we may have this. You need to give them something to give them parameters so they can all price apples and apples.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So on a CM agent, it's a professional service. You can put out an RFQ, but you don't have to put out an RFQ. The law says you do not have to. They're a fiduciary. The relationship on a CMA is triangular. It's the owner, the architect, and the CMA. You work together like this. In CMR, it's linear. You have the owner, the architect, and the CMR. So everything runs through the architect to the owner on the CMR. The CM agent is hired based on qualifications. If you put out a RFQ and you get 5, you select the one that you want to work with, then you discuss cost. You cannot ask for pricing in an RFQ at all. The fiduciary relationship, and then it's a fixed fee. It is not a percentage. So the CMA's relationship with the owner, since it's a fixed fee, if there's any change orders, whatever, they're only working for the owner. So if you go in and, is your name Josh?
Josh.
So if Josh decides and the board decides that you want to add 5 wings to the building and it's going to add $10 million, well, the CMA, that would be the only time that the CMA would get more money, would be because it wasn't in his original scope. But if y'all decided you were going to go with terrazzo instead of ceramic tile, there wouldn't be any ads because we had a flat fee in that project. And it was still in that same bond program. Does that make sense?
Okay.
No? So it's still in that same original, let's just say it was a $100,000 project for giggles. My fee, or the CMA down the street's fee, would be based on that $100,000 project. And I could tell you that terrazzo was $10, ceramic tile was $5, and carpet was $3. It's your decision whether you do the 10, the 5, or the $1. I don't get any more money because my fee was based on that $100,000. You get to choose the 10, the 5, or the $3. CMR is going to get percentage based on the 10, the 5, or the 3 because they're a percentage based. Does that make sense?
So on the other way, if you go the lowest cost, do you get that money back in the end?
You get the
The
difference back.
school gets the money back?
The school gets the money back.
But if you go at risk, the school
The
likely, but if you
school
have a
likely won't
contract,
get the money back because the CMR uses the contingency because you don't know what the CMR has taken, if they've taken low bids, middle bids, or high bids out of this number here. You don't know what their buyout numbers are. These are just estimates that they're using.
Okay.
Am I making sense? Am I just?
Can you
Yeah,
ask,
no, you're making
can
sense.
you ask for transparency of that, or like, can we say, hey, this turned out to be more expensive? Can we look at, like, you budgeted this much and what's something? Does that make sense?
In that methodology, there's really not transparency.
Okay.
So let's keep talking about the CMA for a second, and then we'll lay them all out there on the table,
Okay.
and it'll be a little bit more clear. What a CMA does for the school district is they become the general contractor. If you walked out on a job and you had CMR on the left and you had CMA on the right, and you walked in the fence, you wouldn't know the difference because both are going to have a superintendent, both are going to have toilets, both are going to have job trailers, both are going to ensure that the job's safe. What the CMA does is it becomes the construction department for a school district of your size. They manage the insurance for the contractors, they manage the safety, they manage the bonds, they manage all the contracts. They do everything out on the job site and with the paper piece of it as well for the project. There'll be multiple prime contracts, what you would typically call a subcontract, electrical, mechanical, whatever. Those become prime contractors for the school district. And the school district actually holds those contracts, but you're holding them in actuality, whereas the CMA is managing them. Everybody agree?
so.
I want this to be a dialogue and not I feel like I'm teaching, and I'm not trying to teach, I'm trying to work with you on it. So what happens is the job's bid, so let's go to the next screen. You have the same benefits as the CMR, faster delivery schedule, an integrated team, as I talked about, the triangular relationship, fixed fee by the CMA. It's very transparent, which when I flip the page, you'll see here in just a second. You have a check and balance between the architect and the contractor, which is that triangular relationship again. It's definitely a team approach, and it's very relationship based. The district, here's the one thing, the district can write one check or the district can write multiple checks. Since the district holds all the contracts, electrical, mechanical, whatever, the checks come from Mount Vernon ISD to the electrical and whatever. When we did the science labs and the gymnasium, you guys wrote all the checks. You would call me, I would send the pay apps to you, you guys wrote all the checks, I would come out here and pick them up, we would deliver them. I have other school districts, which I'm fixing to show you an example, Blue Ridge ISD, they only wrote one check, and that was Gallagher's check, because I thought it was a conflict of interest for me to write the other checks, or to write my own check. I thought it was a conflict of interest. So they had a construction account, Blue Ridge ISD construction account, that I signed on, and I wrote all the other checks, and then they just wrote my check. She would say, money's in the bank account. I wrote the check. It was simple. Life was grand. She thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. She only had to write one check. We did it. We scanned her copies every time we wrote them, and she kept track of it, but she didn't have to write them, and the accounting was simple. So you can do it either way. The disadvantage is that there's multiple prime contracts that your office has to manage, but you don't have to manage them because the CMA is managing those. Prime contractors are required. Some people think this is a negative, some don't think it's a negative. Prime contractors are required to provide bonds and insurance as required by state law, alleviating some from participating. However, use this as an example. You guys need a covered walkway from here to the gym, as we talked about in the facility committee, right? If y'all just went out and looked at it as your own project, that contractor is going to have insurance and bonds required as purchasing laws by the state. So that contractor is going to have it the same as they would bidding on a bond project. So it's really not any different than this doing your own project. Does that make sense? So that's not really a negative, although some people say it's a negative. When we did the elementary school, when we did the gym, we had more local participation on that project than we had in, I can't tell you how many jobs we had. We had a ton of local participation on that project. So
and that was CMA.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. And what we do is if we know that there's a electrical guy that wants to bid it, if we have to break it up into smaller bid packages to help the local guys, then that's what we try to do. To encourage, and we try to work with you guys, and you'll know, well, Joe's Electric or Bob's Ice Cream or whatever is going to try to bid. We try to work it so that can be. Okay, so I brought this big piece of paper, and you're going to be like, oh my Lord, what is this? This is what I get to deal with every day when we're bidding. And I'm just giving you this again for you to look at. But what you won't get as a CMR is you won't get this. So, again, I wouldn't be as a good school teacher passing out paper. Okay, well, let's see if I can do that. There you go. But this is a bid tab for the school that I was just talking about, Blue Ridge. On the actual bid day. Oh, look, I made Aaron have to get some glasses. I'm sorry. So my brother and I own the company. My brother and I had monthly financial meetings, and he wears his pink reading glasses. I'm like, pink? He goes, it was cheap. It was at Walmart. I just bought a pack of 10. I was like, he goes, well, they have pink and blue and yellow. I'm like, oh my Lord. I said, do your girls laugh at you? He's like, oh yeah, they do. I'm like, okay. So this bid tab, so we actually took bids last Tuesday or Thursday on the job. And as soon as we take the bids, so this job we actually open and read aloud. With COVID, it's been a little crazy of how to open and read them aloud, but we open them and read them aloud in our office because with COVID, we couldn't come to your boardroom and open and read them aloud because your schools were closed and whatever. But we open and read the bids aloud. We put this bid tab and we post it to the website within 24 hours of reading them aloud. So there's no clandestine operation, there's no shopping bids, there's none of that. On a CMR, you won't get a bid tab. It won't be out there. All you'll get is that GMP, and you won't know if that price is the low price, the second price, the third price, whatever.
What's GMP stand for?
Guaranteed maximum price.
Okay.
Then, once we take this bid tab, we take and analyze all the bids. Then you get this total sheet, which is also the GMP, which is comparable to the one I gave you just a moment ago.
And do you have to go with the lowest bid?
You do not have to go with the lowest bid. However, I'm sorry. What we recommend we call them CSPs, competitive sealed proposals, and there's a ranking system. There's many reasons why you don't have to take the lowest bid. You know, it may be $1 million electrical bid, and they have 3 guys. Okay, well, sometimes you have a $1 million electrical bid and 3 guys can't do the work, right? Okay, that would be a reason why you wouldn't take the $1 million electrical bid. Here's a prime example. We have a mechanical contractor right now that always low bids it, but he can't perform it, and his warranty work is subpar. So we have a historical relationship with him that says, okay, maybe you can install the HVAC equipment, but Mount Vernon ISD in 6 months is going to have horrible warranty service. We would recommend you don't do that. But here's the other side of that. But if Mount Vernon ISD is going to save $750,000 on that bid package, is it worth taking that low bid and saving the $750,000? That's what you get from being able to see this bid tab right here with the CMA methodology. So what you also, turn over on page 2 or the back page of that bid sheet the bid tab I gave you where it's got the yellow. So what that is comparable to, that 23,100 or 23,105,506 is comparable to the 25,500 on the GMP page on the Silsby. But the difference is, if you look at them, you also have up on the construction page, total construction cost on the back page here, where you have up at the top 20,355,567. That number, you see that up at the top? That number is comparable to your 23 million or 25,584,000. That's where it stops. Everything below that line is what you're looking for. You're looking for this project total, this 23,105,000, because that's got your soft cost in it. That's got your architect fee in it. It's got your FF&E in it. It's got your miscellaneous contingency. You want to have a total project budget, not just your construction cost. Your CMA will help track everything, not just your construction cost. Does that make sense? Now, on this particular project, if you look at the very bottom of that page, you see where it says add alternates? Down at the bottom there? Right here? So what we were able to do on this project, let me switch the page, not that you can see it up here, it's kind of hard to see, but, and it's hard to put these bid tabs on these 8.5 by 11s when they're 11 by 17s, but. So right here, these add alternates. So what we were able to do on this project was, on bid day, the alternates, if you see the alternates totaled $97,773, we put that money into contingency on the recommended at the board meeting. You can see 1 through 5 there were deducts. So obviously we took those, right? But 6 through 12 were adds. And what we told them, if you look up here on the sheet, it's not on your total sheet because this total sheet was actually the board book item that was approved at the board meeting. But we told them, item number 6, install landscape, you have to decide by January if you want to do that. And if you do, then we'll pull that money out of contingency in January. The next item was install the second serving line. Well, we have to know by October if you want to do that. So you have to decide, we'll pull that money out of contingency because that's your money. Had that been a CMR project, you would have never had those options. So this school, they got to do all 16 or all 14, no, all 16 of those alternates because it was a CMA job, and you got to see all of those on bid day, and you got to see a staged contingency with drawdown or buy down. and they had that option. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense, Aaron? Okay, so, and here's another one.
Can you go back go back one slide, please?
Yes.
So on the sheet you gave us,
Hold on. There you go.
on the sheet you gave us on even the page before that, go one more, please. So that contingency, what you just showed us, was part of the.
Owner's
One more page.
contingency.
Go back one more. So right there on that CM contingency, that 500,000,
Uh-huh.
that 500,000 covered all of those 16 things that you just
Right,
spoke of.
well, there's that 500,000 there, and then there's another 300 right here in this bottom line, see it?
Okay.
So that 800,000 helped cover this $97,000. And we got to do it in a staged buyout, if you will. And that, we told them those months, January and October, was when they had to make a decision. Did they want to do that?
So this contingency money, if you don't spend it,
It's all yours.
that's what we get
It's
back.
100% all yours.
Okay.
Every one of these line items on here, every single one of them. Like where it says utility line locate, that's an estimate, $15,000. Sometimes there may be $5,000 used out of it. Sometimes there may be $2,500 used out of it. Sometimes we use all of it, and sometimes we don't touch it. But we know we have to put a line item in there because, 25 years ago, somebody ran a gas line over there from the former hospital to the street back here. And we have to go do a line locator, UDIG or whatever the commercial one is. But if we don't use it, every one of those dollars comes back to you. This doesn't go to anybody but XYZ ISD on here. Whatever school district this is related to. Every single one of them.
How would that be different than the CMAR though? I mean, if they end up
Because
doing things that are not required, obviously that's savings that come back to
Well-
the district, right?
right. However, on theirs, where it says temp fencing, they're gonna bill all 15,000. Project sign, they're gonna bill all 2,500. They're not gonna, the only line that you're gonna get any money back on, possibly, is the contingency line.
Even if you build it in the contract in the beginning? Because,
Yes.
okay.
It's been my experience. Now, there may be those out there that do it differently. When I was a CMR, I've only done Mount Vernon, Silsbee, Dilley, maybe one other one. Speaking for myself, I can't do CMR. I just can't do it. I just can't do it because it's just not in the owner's best interest. My brain just does not get around it in the most transparent way. I do CMR just like I do CMA. That's just not made that way. But in the true CMR, and here's the other side of it, truly. I mean, I was raised in the GC world until 1992. In 1992, when we started doing CMA, and that's what we started doing. And the economy dictated that, right? But if you think about it in the real world, a CMR is a GC. He has to protect himself because he's carrying the bond on that project. His whole world is protecting his own liability and his own risk. So I get it. I mean, that's what he's supposed to be doing, right? That's how he makes his money. So I'm not disparaging
On the
him.
other side of that, we're carrying the risk with the
But
agent.
you're really not, because
Well, if we're contracting with the subcontractors, then we're carrying the risk
but you're
of
not.
them going under.
But
Because
you
it's
know,
going to be our pocketbook whenever we go to fight them to get our.
but you don't.
Well, who's going to do that?
I have done that on the last 4 or 5 jobs. That's what I do. So that's what I was going to show you here on this next page right here. So on this Waxahachie High School, $110 million job. So we worked with the owner on this top number right here. We used low bids, and the difference between the low bid and the second bid on the millwork number or the masonry was $600,000. Millwork was $1.3 million. Roofing, $247,000. You can see that total, we saved $7.4 million. By saving that $7.4 million, now had that been, and this is just, these are actual numbers, right? Mm-hmm. By saving that $7.4 million, I'll show you the next screen here. Does this thing have a pointer? No. Well, the baseball and softball, by saving that money, that baseball and softball field, and the school district jointly made that decision with us. We didn't just say we're going to take the low number, because those were significantly lower numbers. But the baseball and softball field were supposed to be backstops only. They got full competition, AstroTurf or field turf, whatever you want to call it, baseball and softball fields. They also got 2 band marching fields. They also got terrazzo flooring in all of the hallways of the whole $110 million high school. So let me go back here. They got sound systems in the auditorium and whatever. But here's the big one that you just asked about on the issues. So commercial mechanical, that was the plumbing number that we took, that was $2.5 million. So we had trouble with them. They wouldn't supply the number of men. By about probably a third of the way in, nothing but unmitigated heck. We have a full-time MEP guy on our staff. You don't pay for him, I pay for him. Mm-hmm. He was on that job full-time, making sure they were doing exactly what they were supposed to do. And that's all he did. He didn't go to any other job but that job. About halfway through commercial mechanical, I had to get involved, and I worked with the bond company, and the bond company took over. So what happens is they didn't fully take over. They started doing check disbursements. So we would send the money to the bond company. The bond company would start paying their bills, and they helped substantiate their manpower. But that's what I do. Areola, Terrazzo, they went bankrupt. And we Gallagher, worked with the bond company, never skipped a beat. The project just kept going. We helped them get their project finished, make their payroll, whatever. Auditorium seating, couldn't come in. We went to the second one. Sidewalk contractor went bankrupt. He was actually on 3 of the projects that we did. And the bond company actually came in, took over, and you guys, they never even knew it. That's the service that I provide, so you guys don't have to worry about it. And I realize if I'm sitting in your seat, it's like it's a big decision. But that's what I do. That's my expertise. And I also provide you a $5 million E&O policy. That I have to provide you a $1 million by law. But I provide you a $5 million, and as I tell the girls in my office, I don't ever intend to use it. Right. I mean, right? So, and that's what you're paying for. You're not paying me. Anybody can go, I say anybody, you know what I'm saying? Anybody can go build you something. Mm-hmm. You're paying for my expertise in the public construction market, because all I've done since 1968 is build schools. With the occasional church and the occasional city hall. But I've built schools since 1968. I mean, I haven't, because I was born in 66. You said you weren't that old. Yeah, now I'm going to tell you, right? I was born in 66, but that's what we've done. And my dad figured out that schools is what our specialty is, and that's what we do. That's our expertise. So as I told you at the very beginning, I'm not a presenter. I'm just giving you the facts. And that's why I think you should use Gallagher. But that story right there, that's why you use CMA, because you get to sit at the table with us when we're trying to figure out, do we use the masonry contractor that's $600,000 low?
Yeah, but can't the at-risk? I mean, can't you look at the bids on the at-risk too and help with the decision-making
by law,
process?
You're not supposed to see the bids until they award the contracts, which is crazy.
Yeah,
again, your legislature at work. I know that's nutty.
If we can't see the bids, you talking about the school district can't see the bids?
If you do CMR.
If you do CMR.
Because we're putting just trust in him to make the decision for us.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I thought it said in that stuff you sent earlier that you could see all the bids. It didn't? With the
He had within 7 days to show them
Yeah,
after he ordered the bid.
after they've ordered the bid.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
It's crazy. I see that side of it, but not really when it's in the public world. But if it was a private job, I get it. But when it's in the public world, this is public money that you're using, right? It should be an open book. That's my personal opinion of it. You didn't ask for my personal opinion of it, but that's the way it should. Whether you go with JOC or CMR or CMA or whatever.
So it sounds like when I at first glance, looking at it, thought the CMR at risk kind of took a burden off of our shoulders.
That's because those two words right there, at risk. That's what everybody gets hung up on in my world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I have to compete against is those two words, is at risk. In my view, working as a team, whoever you choose, if you choose CMA, you're working as a team like this, with the architect, the CMA, and you. If you work in that team, instead of having one person bonded, you're having everybody on that job that's $25,000 and over bonded. You have a whole lot less risk than just having one person bonded, is my personal view. Now, again, you didn't ask for my opinion, but, and if it's managed properly, it's not gonna be without issues. Just like that $110 million high school right there, you're not gonna be without issues. But they're not issues that can't be overcome with the proper person managing it. If that.
The gym projects and science labs, was that CMA?
Yes, sir.
And the elementary was CMAR?
CMR. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so.
And as I told Dr. McCullough, the CMR was right at the end of 08 and 09. Not to give y'all all a long, boring family story, but when my brother and I bought the company in 08, 09, we decided right then we were going to get a bond so that if the market ever changed and we had to do CMR just to keep alive, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we would do. We signed on the dotted line on December 2008. Yeah, well, that's about when the market went Kawampy. Well, that's when y'all did the elementary school, and we signed up. We had our bond, and that's when we got the elementary school. And it was sheer survival. I mean, I'm not saying we wouldn't have done it, but that's just, I mean, y'all all been through 2008 and 9, and that's why we did CMR. But it was hard for us. It wasn't hard to do it. It was hard for us to be a CMR being a CMA, because we still did it CMA. Does that make sense?
I think the farther we go, the more on some of that. I was just thinking I wasn't on the board at that time, but I thought that we come in, it was like a $22 million bond, and we come in like at 19 or 20, and then the gym was like, maybe the gym was at 22. Anyhow, when we did this other project, we did, it took us every bit of the bond package to do it. So that's why I was asking that question.
I'm not positive. I didn't bring the numbers.
Yes, and I'm not either, so I'm
I
just.
think there was money left over.
I think we
from the
returned
last
money
one.
From the elementary, I think.
Was there, or from the gym? Because I know before the track was redone, there was talk earlier on about using some of that leftover money to, at that time, just repair the track, because at that point in time, it could have been repaired.
Okay.
Because there was some money that had been allocated a little bit out here and there.
Okay. I'll know.
And I was thinking that was from the gym, but it might not have been.
don't wanna lie to you. I can pull it
I
up.
just know there was
Well,
some
I got in the car, I can pull it up. It
Yeah.
takes 2 seconds.
difference from
Wow.
something.
It's not really here or there now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, as I said at the beginning, I'm not a presenter. I'm sorry they didn't send you the flashy salesperson. But
I have a quick question. I've
Yes,
asked this
ma'am.
before, but I just want to make sure that I remember correctly. So if we go CMA and everybody has to be bonded individually.
only 25 and over.
Right, okay. But for anybody that applies to,
Mhm.
if they're not currently bonded, they can still bid.
Mhm.
And then if they're awarded that bid, how long do they have to get everything in order to get their bond and everything taken care of?
By bid documents, it's 5 days they have to turn in their contracts.
Okay,
So typically you can't be bonded in 5 days.
right, okay.
But, so let's go back to Joe's Ice Cream that I used earlier. If you know that Joe's Ice Cream wants to bid it, and he's not bonded currently, most of them have insurance already, but they don't necessarily have bonds. Those that don't have bonds, there are ways to package them or team them up with other people so that they can bond or be bondable with somebody else, if that makes sense. But those of any size probably already have one. Typically.
I work for the county as well, so
Sure.
just sitting through commissioner's court and all that for 22 years.
Bless
I
you.
mean, that comes up a lot, and them wanting to be able to use local
Yeah.
people for a lot of things, but they have to be bonded. And I know that's come up before. You know, they would have like a grace period to get.
And 25 is the limit that we put. You guys can set it at any number. You can pick 50. State says, I'm going to get it back. I always get it backwards, but state says 50 for performance and 100 for payment, or I may have it completely the other way. We set 25, but you can pick whatever. Or let's say Joe's Ice Cream turns in and he doesn't have a bond. It's your discretionary decision to say, you know what, it's okay, we're going to let him do this one, and he doesn't have to have a bond. So that's totally your call. And we'll honor your decision for anything. So that's.
I like bonds.
It separates the men from the boys on occasion, but.
Well, I mean, things can happen too even out of their control.
That's exactly right.
I mean, especially with the way everything is today.
And that's what happened to the Terrazzo guy. He was doing fine, and a huge contract that he had pulled out on him in the middle. Nothing he did or didn't do. And he's like, well, now what am I going to do?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was a big job. I mean, I don't know if you've driven by Waxahachie High School, but it looks like a small junior college. You know, and I'm thinking, well, gosh, I thought my high school was big, and it wasn't big, you know. So, do you have any more questions for me? And I'm sorry I didn't leave you a book to take home and read, but I'm going to flash through here. There's pretty pictures up here that you don't need, but you've seen them all. This is the elementary school that you have the bids on, or not yet, the total sheets on here.
All right, so I'm just trying to make sure I understand this is will be my first building project that we go with. So we're moving this. All right, so on the at-risk, the construction manager at-risk is carrying the bond.
The bond.
The bond.
The bond. Mm-hmm.
Now, those working under that company are probably still going to be bonded as well, right?
Most. If it was me, I would bond them. Some bond, some don't bond.
Okay.
Some have a thing called subguard, which is a form of bonding. It just depends on the contractor, who it is.
So
and
on
if they
the
do.
agent piece, there's not a single bond. Each company that we will work with will be required to have those bonds.
And one of the services that the CMA provides is checking that bond, make sure that they're licensed in the state of Texas, make sure that the bond company has the limit that the contract is, make sure that the bond company's valid. They do the same thing on their insurance. They make sure that their insurance is, not expired, all of that, every month. There's a big, long process that they go through. It's seamless for you guys. You just get an electronic packet and it says write these checks, or you can write one check as we talked about. And you don't even know the difference. I'll give you an example on it. We did a thing for Forney ISD. We upgraded their fire alarm system in their current North Forney High School. The fire alarm company, it was a complete beating, but they didn't do the design right. I'm not a design person. I'm just the insurance bond payout person. And I had to deal with their bond company because the company was not performing. Forney never even knew about it. We just sent them both the checks. I dealt with the attorney to get it all done, and life was green. They never even knew that there was a problem. I paid my attorney. Their school attorneys never even knew it. I mean, it's just the relationship that we have.
So I'm gonna use your terrazzo tile example you had a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
So in that relationship with CMA, I understand we're basically
It's three-party.
the agent, the architect, and us. We're there having that conversation, which ultimately we get to make that decision.
It's all yours.
With terrazzo tile.
Yep.
CMR, still the construction manager and the architect and us.
Yes.
I mean, we still ultimately
You
get to
still
make
get
that
the-
decision.
You still get to make the decision, but the CMR gets a percentage of that dollar amount.
Okay.
If you
I
change from
understand.
something.
Sure.
Right.
That should all be in like a spec book with the architect, though, correct?
Excuse me?
That should be in like the specifications that the architect draws, what materials will be used.
Yes.
And, yeah,
Mhm.
those are all decided
Correct.
beforehand generally.
Yes,
Right.
right.
So the only what you're saying is if we were to change, after that spec sheet came out and the bids were made, if we were to
Yes.
come back and say, well, we'd really like to do this,
Exactly.
the at risk is the percentage change, but you're saying the agent would not.
Right. Right. Because it's a flat fee.
Any other questions?
Sure. Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Action items, consider and approve construction delivery method for potential bond projects. That is item A.
Okay, so we've had information on, presented by our attorney firm last month. You've received other information through emails showing you hopefully the difference between at-risk and agent. You've heard tonight another presentation between the two. So, you don't need any other discussion?
More discussion?
Anybody want to discuss it, talk about it, have some pros or cons
I mean,
before we go into it?
coming into it, I was thinking at risk, but after that, I like the agent part. I like being able to see the bids. And
I'd almost like
Good
to
idea,
hear.
have a flat fee.
Yeah, I'd almost like to hear from at-risk party now. I feel like we've heard from the agent.
Okay.
It's kind of what I was thinking, because I came in under the
Okay.
same, like, if you do the at-risk, feeling like it alleviated things off the district.
Right.
But this led my thinking into another direction. So now I'm kind of like, was I totally off coming in? Does that make sense? I don't know.
No, because I think some of the, well, you've heard from two of them, Scott there, I'm the same way. I didn't have my mind made up, but I did have my mind made up if I didn't have any more information.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So,
That'd be me too. Came in just fixed on what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
And, this presentation turns a lot of wheels in my mind as to which is better. But I like the idea of, again, seeing the bids instead of just taking what's there. I mean, even though we'll see them later, it's just after the fact. That's like deciding to go for 2 points after you've already kicked the 1 point. That's the point. You know, what are we gonna do? Let's go back and try again.
Because maybe I'm like, think people are too good, but I would think if they do have to show you the bids eventually, there give some accountability check where you're not completely like they don't completely, you know.
I would say.
Sure.
When you do the bids, you do them separate, or you get them all at one time, or?
They all have to be, since it's public and read aloud, we always say by 2 o'clock unless you're out and, you know.
Like for the whole bond though, just they all come at one time?
Or different parts of the
Depends on how we do
stage?
your projects. Typically, since we're looking at $25-30 million, it's best to do it all at once because you get economies of scale. You don't want to get a little $3 million and then you get a 17 because the 3 is going to be way out of whack. So let's just say it's 25. We would do it all together at once. We would do it all at the same day, so they're all right there. And you see them all together. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
If that's what you're asking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seems like that would be less time consuming than what I
That's what I was
usually-
thinking.
Yeah.
We had to have a meeting for every one of those sections or something like that.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking.
I think under at risk, they're gonna handle that for us. We don't have to meet on every.
You don't have to.
And I don't think we have to meet with you either for
No, you
every
don't
single
have to. No,
bid
you
decision.
just meet one time and you just approve the total sheet, the one that's in there in yellow. And the same as you're gonna meet with, you're gonna have to approve the GMP for the CMR.
For the
Same thing, you're gonna
same
approve
thing.
both those sheets.
Right.
So it's just one board meeting.
Yeah,
And when we
everything's
bring
ready
it,
at every board meeting, pretty much.
yeah, it's just one board meeting for either methodology.
Gotcha.
How many
At
change
mine.
orders did y'all have on the gym?
That's all I remember is change.
So here's the
I don't
thing.
remember how many, but it was enough to.
But
The
can I
at-risk,
say
I don't think
something
we're gonna have
on the
any
change orders? So if
Sure.
you do, let's just say there's 50 change orders on your project. That bottom number in that yellow, and I'm not changing it, right here. Yes, ma'am. On this, where it says project totals, that will never ever change. You could have 100 change orders, you could have 1,000,000 change orders, whatever. Now, if you go over this 300,000 and that 500,000, it'll change because you ran out of $800,000.
Sure.
But if you didn't, you could have 1,000,000 change orders and it's never going to change because you've used your contingency, and we've used all these other estimates.
Right.
But other than that, and let's just say you had 1,000,000 change orders, but you only used $100,000, you're going to get 700,000 back.
Yeah.
And then we also track every dollar that you spend that's in your office. Let's say that your office is tracking printing or whatever that they're charging to the budget. We track that too, so that your office and our office is always tracking the budget, so you have double entry accounting. In the CMR world, they're only tracking this above. They're not tracking down here. So,
Yeah.
Sorry.
We were told, or I was told, that if you go construction manager agent, that you could save about 3%. Where is that savings? How do you get? If that's true, then where's that savings coming from? That 3% over at risk.
I would say it's in the upfront design process, because you get dollar for dollar savings on the value engineering in the upfront design. Because if you do it in the design, you're going to get $1 for dollar. If you do it on the back side, you never get $1 for dollar on your change orders. Never ever.
Okay. So we have two choices. We can vote on this tonight, or we can postpone it to another meeting. I know which direction I'm going to go if we vote on it tonight, but it's up to y'all. We can, if y'all want to postpone it, I need a motion to postpone this to another meeting. And
Well, I was just going to ask Jason, I'm trying to look back in your email. Did you say there are other construction companies only operate at risk? The other?
I'm not sure of any other that I know of personally that do construction manager agent. I know a lot that do the at-risk.
My only thought is if you postpone and we just have someone say the at-risk, and then we have, we operate within the agency, this is how we get things run, and then one of the other companies that usually runs, I don't know, and that I feel like I would be more informed, but if the board also feels like
So what you're saying is to hear an at-risk person.
Yeah, just both.
Presentation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I feel like,
I'd be more comfortable doing that then.
and I think she did a great job. I mean, it completely opened my eyes and very great. I would just like to hear both.
Okay.
In my
Make a motion that we
preference.
table this until we can hear from CMAR at-risk contractor.
So change that to postpone,
Yep.
because if we table, I think we have to bring it back tonight, so
Okay.
that's,
Postpone.
okay. So motion been made that we postpone item A to consider and approve construction delivery method for potential bond projects until a later date. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
That's seconded by Lee Ann. All for that. Okay. So, I think we had to vote on that, but I'm not sure, so we took a vote anyways. Postpone, if we table it, we have to come back tonight. So, we'll come back to that. Item B, consider and approve service contract for Breezy One Robot to disinfect, sanitize all school district buildings.
I've shared with you that we were working on this project already, to where it is a disinfectant sanitizing tool that we're using in the district. It is a service contract, and it is something that I think that we're seeing benefit from. Friday's numbers, Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, Friday's numbers showed we only had one student in the whole district that was COVID positive.
Great.
Those numbers have remained low. I don't have the up-to-date nurse visits. What she sent us last week, they did look lower. So again, numbers still, I think it's going to take a while to see in regard to where we are with it. But it is something that, as you'll see in just a minute, we built it into this project into our district site base, our district improvement plan, as well as it's money that we're using from our ESSER funds that are allowable funds to use for that. As you saw from the contract, it's a 1-year contract, able to be approved each year after that for 2 additional years. You saw the price on that. Did get bids for it.
What was the price?
The price was The price was $5,200. Let's see.
$52.50.
Yeah, $5,250 a month. There is a one-time setup fee to where they have to do the mapping of all the buildings for it, which was $5,000, and then the chemical itself, 1 year supply of chemical, I think, is on there for $21,000. The only other bid I got that we received was for $18,000 per time they spray, and this $5,250 sprays 10 times a month.
10 times a month.
So they're here like
like
this
every
week
3 days.
would be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Next week would be Tuesday, Thursday, and so it's. Is that right? Yeah, sorry, 10 times per month. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
10
Yes.
times a month.
Yes.
Every 3 days. We're
Correct.
sanitizing
Yep.
the school.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday and Thursdays of the next week. And they do it when we're not here, so they do it in the evening times.
What do they spray?
It is.
Can I get it at my house?
See if they can run by there as well. It is some chemical with hydrogen peroxide mixture of some sort.
This is a year. This is a year.
This is for a year contract, yes.
I may have missed it. Did you tell them what you told me about? It's usually like a 2 or 3 year deal, but you've got it to where.
Yes, that's right, and it's in the contract.
Okay.
It's written in the contract there on term of contract. The term of the contract will begin the day the contract remain in full force in effect for a period of 1 year. The duration of 10 months with an option for renewal for an additional 1 consecutive year for the following 2 years.
So then the 1 year that we're voting on now is the 79
Is the
number? Or am I looking at the wrong thing?
74?
Yeah, I think 79 for the first year.
Yeah, I thought 79
Sorry,
for the
79,
first-
yes, sorry,
yeah, for the
sorry.
first year.
Yes, yes. Which that difference from that is the $5,000 setup fee, that one-time setup fee.
Right.
How's it work since we're gonna sign a contract halfway through the school year and you go through the summer? You don't have
They've actually been spraying for
to, do it
a couple
in the
months.
summer too?
Well, they've been spraying.
Oh, they have?
Yeah. So yeah, they'll spray the whole time we're in school.
So the number on that is $74,060.
79.
first year.
$79,060.
Again, which is the ESSER funds that have been budgeted there.
Okay. Any more questions on that?
And again, the ultimate deal, what the hope is that through the sanitizing, disinfecting, that our absentee percentage is smaller, and therefore through the ADA calculation, we're hoping in turn pays for itself. Which again, it'll take the year to see if that happens or not. But that's the hope.
But that percentage has been up, correct? These past,
Well,
like we've seen
from-
an increase
yes,
from
yes.
the beginning. I know we're not.
Yes, definitely from the beginning of school.
Yes, that's
Yes.
what I was.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's recommended that we approve the service contract for Breezy One Robot as presented, $79,060. Do I have a motion?
That's the service contract with KLC.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, that motion made by Brooke. Seconded by Robert. All four? That's 7-0. Okay. Item C, consider our approval of the 2021-22 campus district improvement plans.
Okay, each principal is going to present theirs to you briefly. So, yes, Ms. Rhonda, please.
I'm not sure, do they know about the alternative evaluation? Has that been, no, okay. Fine, I just wanted to know what you did know and what you did. So back in September, we received information from Region 8 that Mount Vernon Elementary School was eligible to apply for an alternative evaluation for this last year. So we didn't have accountability, but yet based on certain criteria, it had to do with participation rates and performance of students on the STAR. And from the information we got from Region 8, there were 88 schools in the state of Texas who were eligible, and Mount Vernon Elementary was one of them. There were 7 in Region 8 based on our STAR scores. So that was encouraging to do, and so the application, there was a timeline. The application has been submitted according to the criteria on that. We feel like we have met that. We will know on November the 15th for sure. If it does work out that way, then we will be considered an acceptable campus instead of a D-rated campus. So I just want to share that with you up front. So in looking at our campus plan and looking at last year's performance on the STAR and looking, because we are a pre-K 4 campus, STAR results only apply to 3rd and 4th grade. The rest of our students have other measures that we use to see their performance. The BAS, which is the benchmark assessment system, is our reading levels. So when you see BAS data, that's what that means. When you see ICIP, that's iStation. So when you're looking at data and how students are performing, I don't know if you recall, but last year we looked at the BAS data, and I don't know if your pages are equivalent to mine, but on page 12, that is a chart that shows the progression of reading levels last year from beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. So we started the last year with our 2nd graders, only 12% of them reading on grade level.
We don't have that.
You don't have page 12?
We don't have that. We don't have a graph.
Oh, it looks like that. Not a graph, I'm sorry, chart. No? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I have a copy, actually.
We're good.
I stuck it in here.
We'll just listen to you.
Okay. Well, anyway, so 12% of our I'll take one pass around. Okay. I brought it just in case. I wasn't sure how that was going to print out. Okay, so it does show green being we met the mark with the House Bill 3 goals that were set. Red is that we did not meet the mark. So I don't want to just look at STAR because the bulk of my campus is not STAR related. It is other things. So last year we started the year, our 2nd grade in particular, with only 12% reading on grade level. By the end of the year, 30% were reading on grade level. That's not where we would like to be, but that's a pretty good bit of growth when you're looking at improvement for students. Those happen to be our third graders this year. So I'm just trying to play that along with you to kind of remember that. These are also the students who missed the bulk of first grade this spring. So you play into why does that one group maybe not, why are they struggling to read on grade level? Well, they missed a whole lot of instruction that was very critical. First grade is a very critical year to learn how to read. So we are working diligently on closing those gaps, but those are the students that will take the star this year. So just kind of playing that into mind when you look at our goals and why they might not appear to be very lofty, but in reality they are. Okay, so just prefacing that. So if you look at our performance objectives, and I'm not sure what your pages look like, but on goal 1, performance objective 1, our goal is that we will increase by 5% in the meets grade level or above category for our 3rd and 4th grade reading. 5% increase may not seem like a lot, but when you're dealing with a whole different set of kids, you're dealing with that particular group that we ended the year with 30% being on grade level. So our team, when we were looking at our goals, maintaining what we performed last year and increasing it by 5%, we feel like is very lofty, and will be something we will be working very hard to meet. But our instructional strategies, what does yours look like? Oh, I see now. Okay, sorry. No, you're good. I was just seeing what you saw.
So we had the same thing now, I think.
Okay, thank you. You're now where I'm at. Okay. So the instructional strategies really relate to the things that we have implemented in improving our literacy instruction. Our teachers are attending Reading Academy. They were there today at Region 8. It is a 10-day long comprehensive literacy instruction training that they are doing this year. We have also implemented several new things, which is strategy number, well, that was strategy 4 I mentioned. I'm just highlighting these. Strategy 5, we purchased and are implementing this year a phonics program, which is the Reading Horizons. And our Hegarty Phonological and Phonemic Awareness program is new, and the Units of Study Writing program. All of those 3 things we found last year to be lacking in our instruction, and the teachers felt like they needed resources for those. So we are implementing those programs this year in hopes that we will see great results. Moving on to the next performance objective 2, which is basically the kind of a repeat of it, but in math. We have purchased some things in math to use as well. We purchased the Do the Math program. Again, to put resources in teachers' hands to be able to utilize that for intervention. Pretty much our campus plan looks a lot like it did last year with the same goals, because we have not attained what we're wanting to attain. So we're still working on continuing most of the goals from last year. Be happy to answer any questions on any of those goals. We did implement, just highlighting the new things, over on, just a second. Performance objective 2 of goal 3, performance objective 2. Not sure if you have page numbers or not. I don't think they line up with
13.
Yeah, thank you. We instituted a PBIS, which is Positive Behavior Intervention System this year, where students earn Tiger tickets. It's just a way for students to earn for attendance and for good behavior, and we're having Tiger Fiestas where the kids can spend those Tiger tickets for different things, and we have a Tiger cart, and we feel like that was something lacking last year, was incentives for students and making school a place that maybe was a little more fun and not just, COVID did kind of hinder us last year, but we are doing that, and we did implement the CHAMPS program this year, which is just kind of an agreement on how we're going to, what we expect students' behavior to look like. So those are our new things as well. And I don't think we have anything else that's just completely new.
I want to say, I think the Tiger tickets, I've noticed a difference with my 3.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of excitement around the Tiger
A whole lot. In fact, last week they can even buy lunch with the principal or stinky feet, which is what we call it, where you can take your shoes off in the classroom. But I got to eat pizza twice last week with students. So when they eat lunch with Miss Phillips or myself, we go get pizza and have pizza in our office and have a good time with that. And so the kids are really enjoying that. I do think overall teachers are working very hard, and there are a lot of changes. With improvement comes change, and change sometimes is hard, but they are working very hard, and I'm very proud of our progress. Y'all have any questions? It's really hard to do all of that in a little bit of time.
You did good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan.
Miss
Crystal?
I'm sorry. I didn't tell myself.
Was Glover timing you?
Glover
We'll
timing.
put a timer on him.
No pressure here.
I've always loved the Tiger tickets also.
Yes.
Good evening. I wanted to start with, as a new principal on the middle school campus, we're using a lot of last year's goals that maybe have not been fully attained yet, or perhaps we've seen that maybe they just need adjusting a little bit. We have completed surveys from teachers, parents, and students, and are in the process of accumulating a more current and accurate CNA for this year as well. So we will adjust the goals and strategies as we continue to assess them. Currently, in order to maintain our focus on success for all of our students, the middle school's going to target engagement through different areas like the development of differentiated lessons, small group intervention, enrichment, things like that. We're going to disseminate those surveys to the stakeholders for improved communication, and we're going to provide professional growth opportunities for the staff. All of this in order to support continuous improvement in our student learning. Kind of in a synopsis of it, just a general, not going down line item by line item, but the middle school is going to incorporate multimedia approach to the communications, such as Facebook, which we're using, school messenger, campus website, email updates, the things that they started last year, just working on trying to incorporate them a little bit more. And our staff will be provided with learning opportunities through ongoing professional learning committees or PLCs to engage in collaborative strategies that will help support student learning. And of course, obviously, their success. The middle school is still focused on closing the achievement gap that exists for some of our students. While growth was made during the 2021 school year, there are still improvements that need to be made for most of our at-risk students. We are keeping a focus on that collaboration occurring in PLCs, the review of formative assessment data, and focusing on building respectful relationships with support continued through the academic growth, as well as clear understanding of student individual needs. A lot of this stuff, through our objectives, through those things, are including percentages, or like one of the objectives is including percentage of the middle school students who achieve the minimum expectation. We want to increase that growth. We're doing that through, and that's on the STAR assessments, through our PLCs, looking at seeing what students need, and using that information to extend their activities, particularly in reading, where we look at what they might need, those additional work and help during the AFT time. We also have after school and before school tutorials to help those as well. Another objective is we're working on applying those same strategies using the RTI program to pull students during the AFT period to improve the percent of those particular students, but not just achieve, but we want them to meet and master in the STAR in all core subjects, And we're using things like iExcel to do so, to help do that. Again, during before school, after school, RTI, and during the class time as well. Another objective that we talked about in the improvement plan is to attract and support high quality staff members in order to optimize their impact on student learning. Through training at like Region 7, through our PLC opportunities, which we do, our PLC committees, they meet as grade level and then they meet as core subjects as well, to try to improve, see what things we can improve on to help them get the students where they need to be. And another thing is working on positive staff recognition, building up staff, maybe morale is maybe a good way to say it. Some of our last things I'd like to talk about include support for GT students, including GT student participation in things like Destination Imagination, lessons and activities, and providing a variety of programs and presentations that educate our students in drug awareness, social media dangers, bullying, teen suicide, etc. And we use programs like Red Ribbon Week. I always have a hard time saying that. And through programs that are coordinated through the counselor and through a CIS coordinator. All of these things with the goal of improving where the students are. And we've got some gaps to fill, and we're just working on little things to try to get our students there. Any questions?
Thank
you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woodard. 30 seconds.
Oh, I can do it.
I'm just kidding. Let us have it.
All right. First of all, I apologize if I start coughing in the middle of this. I know I've probably been driving everybody crazy for the last hour, so sorry about that. All right, so for the high school, I just really kind of want to talk to you about some things that are going to be areas of focus this year, and they're really all in the plan. You can kind of read through that and kind of see some of them. But I just kind of want to give you a feel for where my thoughts are at as we move forward this year. You know, the first goal in the improvement plan is all about student learning and achievement. And of course, everybody's mind goes right to the STAR test, and rightfully so. But you guys know, just like I know, there's a lot more that goes into making a great school than just that. But that being said, everybody knows that that's an area that we need to improve and do so quickly, and we're working to do that. If you see the goals that I put in there, it's just increasing students at the meets and the master's grade level, which it has been for a couple of years now. But a lot of the processes that we put in place to try to do that have really been kind of a building effort over the last couple of years. So I really think some of those things, just for example, just proper implementation of the teacher resource system and using the resources that are provided there, and giving teachers significant training on that. That's all stuff that's kind of progressive from year to year. So I'm hoping that this year we'll really start to reap some benefits from that. A couple of new things I just kind of put in there this year. I think it's become kind of my area of focus. The number one thing that myself and Ms. Brown, our curriculum director, has been focused on is that level of rigor, and that's an educational buzzword I call them, which sometimes irritate me, but it's really true. I think, and Dr. McCullough and I talk about this quite a bit, if there's one thing we've really got to focus on, it's making sure that we're teaching at the high enough level to get our students to where they need to be test-wise. Because when they go in to take the STAR test or the ACT test or TSI test or whatever it is, it's not just recalling information anymore. It's really understanding and processing ideas and evaluating and comparing and contrasting, all sorts of things. So that's the idea that we're really trying to impress upon our teachers this year, not excuse me, not just our core content teachers either, but our CTE department as well. In fact, just today in the training the CTE teachers had, that was one of the main points that she was making to them, which I thought was great. They're hearing it from somebody other than me. But she was trying to get the same idea through their head that we have got to reach a certain level with our instruction. It's not just that we are teaching, it's how are we teaching? Are we preparing them to actually be successful in these assessments? And I think we're really moving in that direction overall. So that's where all the strategies there under the goals are pointing towards is that idea right there. Another one that I put on there is, and this aligns with the board adopted CCMR goals that we had last year, and I'm sure at some point in the second semester I'll be up here updating again. It was increasing the number of students who meet the college readiness in math to at least 44% by the end of this school year. I don't know if you remember last year, but last year when I stood up here and reported that, at that point for last year's graduates, we had 24% of our students that were hitting that math readiness piece on TSI. Now that wasn't taking into account that all students had not tested. This year when I come back second semester, we'll have all students will have tested, so it'll be a more accurate reflection of where we are. But we're really trying to hone in on TSI and college readiness. And one of the ways that we're doing that this year is we've taken one of our classes, which is applied math for technical professionals, and we've structured it in such a way that it's essentially, hopefully, preparing students to take that TSI at the end of the year. We're teaching the curriculum that's associated with that course, but there's a whole lot of overlap between that and what's expected on the TSI, so we're essentially using it as a TSI prep course while also maintaining the integrity of it being a CTE course. So hopefully those kids in there that have not been successful on TSI, they're seniors, hopefully that course will prepare them to do that in the fall, or in the spring, I'm sorry, and we'll see some actual growth when we come back and report that at the end of the year. The other one about learning was continuing to grow and again, this coordinates with what we talked about in the board adopted goals, and that was the industry-based certification improvements. We've seen a lot of growth there in the last couple of years, and we want to continue to do that. And again, that's a report that will come out with in the spring as well. But we're going to continue to really push those CTE teachers to really look closely at what certifications are out there and what can we do to get our students there, because I think there's still some growth that we can show there, although we have seen some in the last couple of years. Jumping over to goal number 2. Goal number 2 is just about engaging parents, and you can see the things in there that we do as a school to try to engage parents, from the open house to utilizing surveys. And 8th grade parent night, which is our most well-attended event of the year. That's the one thing that we actually get good turnout for, I would say. This is a roundabout number, but I'd say we usually have 50% of our families that show up for that, which is far surpasses anything else that we do. So we'll continue to do that. We do a CTE night, dual credit. Miss Stevens had a FAFSA night or afternoon the other day where she invited parents in to help them with that. So there's some things we do. One of the things that I asked the campus committee to do is think about some new activities that we can do to try to engage families, and because as we've talked about many times, if we're engaged when it comes to athletics, but we're not so engaged when it comes to any other type of activities, it's harder to get people involved for academic things. That's just kind of the nature of what we're doing here. Goal number 3 is just engaging the community. You can see there a lot of the things that we do and have done in the past. One of the new things that we're doing is trying something called the Chick-Fil-a Leadership Academy, obviously sponsored by Chick-Fil-a over in Sulphur Springs. There's about 14 kids that have been identified by Miss Wilkins and Miss Courtney Wilkins and Mr. Zeller, and they're bringing them in. They take them 30 minutes per month during what we call LEAP period, which is their AFT period. And they work with them on leadership skills and things like that. But what I like about it and what's going to be good about it is it's all tied back to a service project. So one service project will happen in the fall, and then one big, what they call an impact project, will happen in the spring, where they'll go out and they'll work with the community to raise money, benefit some kind of organization here in the community. So we'll see how that shapes out, but that's something new that we're doing this year to engage community. And then the last one is about effective and efficient facilities. Anyone that's talked to me in the last 2 months has heard my spiel about safety and security and trying to get things together under one roof. That's not really here nor there. It's just kind of a sidebar. But I'm excited about the potential of being able to do some of that with this bond we're talking about. Technology resources, I think I have a statement in there about that as well. We're almost to the point now, or we are to the point now, where we have pretty much one-to-one technology if we chose to go that way. But the thing that I'm really, really working on with teachers is, and I want to bring some more of this into professional development, is how do we use the computers, how do we use the technology to do things that we couldn't do if we didn't have it? Because I think that's the real key. A lot of times we and us, I did the same thing as well when I was teaching. We use it, but we use it to do just things that I could do if I didn't have it. I make a digital worksheet instead of a paper worksheet. I have them look something up on the internet instead of having them look it up in the book. So we really want to hone in on and work on how can we take technology and use it to supplement or increase instruction rather than just replace what we're already doing. So that's something we want to do this year as well. All right. I know that was fast and furious, but if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take it.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on the district side page, Chandra, as I said, got ill today at lunch and had to go home. She did leave me some notes that for her presentation of what she was going to give. On the district improvement plan, it said it's similar to last year's focus on academic success, and the campus plans have specific performance targets embedded. You've had the plan there to look at, but I will tell you a couple of new things that have been added to it, and several with your approval. Of course, first is the attendance incentive program for instructional staff to reduce teacher absences. The second part was increased tutorial monetary payments to teachers to help meet House Bill 4545 requirements. As Ms. Oren shared, of course, the Reading Academy for all the teachers at the elementary is a big part this year in the district improvement plan as well. Also, as a discussion we've had, and what's also in here in regard to student safety and well-being is vape sensors at the secondary campuses to help combat the issue with vaping at school. I will tell you I've received all the proposals for that, and we'll begin moving forward with installing, I think we did a proposal for 20 vape sensors that we'll put throughout high school and middle school. So we'll hopefully have those installed before Christmas break. Also, we have the automated sanitizer robot, which you just approved as well. That's a part of that, again, with the student well-being and health. So those are the new pieces that were part of the district improvement plan. Okay.
Any other questions on that? So, need to approve the 2021-2022 campus and district improvement plans as presented. Do I have a motion for that? Motion is made by Scott Newsom, seconded by Leanne. All four? 7-0.
Thank you.
Information items, financial update.
As was there, cumulative financial update up to end of October. She had there for 199 funds as well as 240 and 599. Any questions on any of that? Just showing where we are budget wise as of that time. Okay. Enrollment totals. You have that there as well. As you see, we're sitting there around 1525, which again is thankfully up 52 students from this time last year. So we're definitely grateful for that, and hoping that we will maintain there. I do know that we have 3 students possible transfers that elementary and middle school are talking to, and we'll see if they add to the number or not. So good.
Okay.
Where we are with that.
All right. So, at this time, the board will convene into closed session to discuss personnel matters as posted on the agenda and allowed by Texas Government Code, Chapter 551074 at 7:05 p.m.
Thank you all. Thank you.
At
7:52.
7:52. Any further business?
No, sir.
If there's no further business, the morning meeting is adjourned at 7:52 p.m.
Thank you all very much.